The rain falls in relentless, gray sheets, turning the asphalt of the lonely Tulane highway into a slick, black mirror. Inside the Crossroads Cafe, the world is warm and smells of old coffee, frying bacon, and damp wool. Steam fogs the lower half of the wide plate glass windows, blurring the drowned landscape outside. A neon sign flickers, buzzing softly, casting a pinkish glow over the worn linoleum floor. In a corner booth, four men sit in a pocket of profound silence. They are large men, mountains of leather and denim that seem to absorb the diner's weak light. Their vests, or cuts, are worn and frayed at the edges, bearing the emblem of a coiled serpent devouring its own tail, stitched over a patch that reads Serpents of Mercy. Their presence is a low hum of intimidation that has settled over the handful of other patrons. A trucker hunches over his chili, pointedly ignoring them. A family with two young kids speaks in hushed tones, the mother occasionally casting a nervous glance their way. Bear, the club president, sips his black coffee. His face is a roadmap of hard miles and harder decisions, framed by a thick, graying beard. His eyes, dark and watchful, miss nothing. Across from him sits Axe, the sergeant-at-arms. A jagged scar runs from his temple to his jaw, pulling one side of his mouth into a permanent, grim line. He stares out the window at the rain, his hands resting, palm down, on the table. They are hands that know how to break things and how to fix them. Next to Axe is Doc, older than the others, with wire-rimmed glasses perched on his nose. He's the club's medic, his gaze more analytical, calmer. He reads a paperback novel, its cover creased and worn. And then there is Rook, the prospect. He is younger, his face not yet fully hardened by the road. He sits straighter than the others, constantly scanning the room, eager to prove his worth, to show he belongs. The waitress, Brenda, approaches their table with the cautious delicacy of someone nearing a sleeping bear. She holds a coffee pot like a shield. "More coffee, fellas?" she asks, her voice a little too loud in the quiet diner. Bear nods once, a slow, deliberate motion. He doesn't speak, just pushes his mug toward the edge of the table. Brenda refills their cups, her movements quick and efficient. She avoids eye contact, focusing on the dark liquid splashing into the heavy ceramic mugs. She wants them fed, watered, and gone. They are an anomaly, a disruption to the mundane rhythm of her shift. They are trouble waiting to happen, or so she thinks. The bell over the door chimes, a sharp, frantic jingle that cuts through the diner's placid atmosphere. Every head turns. Framed in the doorway is a small girl. She cannot be more than 8 or 9 years old. Water streams from her dark hair, pasting it to her pale, porcelain face. She is barefoot, her small feet blue with cold on the dirty doormat. Her simple cotton dress is soaked through and torn at the shoulder, revealing a raw, red scrape beneath. She shivers violently, a tremor that seems to rack her entire tiny frame. But it is her eyes that seize the room. They are wide, impossibly wide, dark pools of pure, undiluted terror. For a heartbeat, the diner is frozen. The sizzle of the grill, the hum of the cooler, the soft chatter, it all vanishes. There is only the sound of the rain and the girl's ragged, panicked breaths. Her gaze darts around the room, skipping over the trucker, the family, Brenda. She is a cornered animal searching for an escape that isn't there. She is looking for protector. Her eyes land on the corner booth, on the 4 mountains of leather and ink. Fear wars with a deeper, more desperate need. Her lower lip trembles. She takes one hesitant step inside, then another. The cold linoleum must be a shock to her bare feet, but she doesn't flinch. She stops in the middle of the room, a lone, fragile figure. A tiny, choked sound escapes her throat. "Please," she whispers. The word is barely audible, a ghost of a sound, yet it echoes in the dead silence. "Please, help me." Her small, trembling hand lifts. Her finger points not at anyone, but back toward the door, toward the gray, weeping world outside. "They hit my grandma." The words hang in the air, heavy and sharp as shattered glass. Inside Lily's head, a storm rages. the screech of tires, her grandmother's sharp cry, the ugly, final thud, the man's voice no longer smooth and kind, but cold and sharp like ice. Be quiet. Stay in the car. But she hadn't. When he got out to look, she had opened the door and run. Run through the wet grass, the sharp gravel of the shoulder, her sandals lost in the mud. Run toward the distant, hazy light of the diner. Her heart hammers against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat of terror. Don't let him find me. Please, don't let him find me. Bear's eyes narrow. He doesn't move a muscle, but his entire posture shifts. The quiet repose is gone, replaced by a razor-sharp focus. He sees the scrape on her shoulder, the terror in her eyes, the truth in the tremor of her voice. He has seen that look before, in 100 different places, on 100 different faces. It is the look of the hunted. Before anyone else can react, the bell chimes again. A man steps inside, shaking a fine mist of rain from the shoulders of his impeccably tailored suit. He is handsome, polished, with silver at his temples and an easy, confident smile. He looks like money. He looks like authority. He spots the girl, and his smile widens, becoming one of benevolent concern. "Oh, there you are, Lilybug," he says, his voice a smooth, reassuring baritone. He addresses the entire room, a charming host apologizing for a minor spill. "I am so terribly sorry for the disturbance. This is my niece, Lily." He takes a step toward her, his expensive leather shoes squeaking softly on the wet floor. "We were in a small fender bender just down the road. She got spooked, I'm afraid. She has. Well, she has episodes. Gets confused. It's been very difficult since her mother passed." The story is plausible. It is delivered with practiced sincerity. The tension in the room begins to ease. The trucker turns back to his chili. The mother at the family table gives a sympathetic sigh. He is the picture of a concerned guardian, and the girl is the picture of a traumatized child. "Come on, sweetheart," he says, his voice dripping with condescending affection. He reaches for her arm. "Let's go home. We don't want to bother these nice people any longer." His fingers are just inches from her torn sleeve. A hand, wide as a dinner plate and covered in faded ink, lands on the man's shoulder. It is not a violent gesture. It is simply there, an immovable object. Axe has not seemed to move, yet he is now standing between the man and the girl. He doesn't speak. He doesn't have to. His presence is a wall. The man, Thompson, stops. His smile tightens. He looks at Axe's hand on his expensive suit, then up at the sergeant-at-arms' scarred face. "Excuse me," he says, his tone shifting from charming to annoyed. From the booth, Bear's voice rumbles, low and quiet, yet it commands the entire room. She stays. It is not a request. It is a statement of fact. Thompson turns his attention to the booth, his eyes finding Bear. He sizes him up, sees the leather, the beard, the tattoos. Contempt flickers in his gaze. He sees a thug, a brute. He underestimates him completely. "Listen," Thompson says, trying to regain control, his voice taking on a patronizing edge. "I appreciate your concern, but this is a private family matter. The girl is overwrought. I have it under control." "You said niece," Bear states, his voice flat. He doesn't look at Thompson. He looks at the little girl, who has taken a half-step back and is now partially hidden behind Axe's formidable frame. She said grandma, a small, almost imperceptible shift. The midpoint. The moment suspicion hardens into certainty. She's confused. Thompson snaps, his composure starting to fray at the edges. Her grandmother is her legal guardian. I'm her uncle. It's complicated. Is it? Bear asks, the simple question a surgeon's scalpel, probing for the lie. He finally turns his gaze to Thompson. It is a heavy, pinning gaze. She doesn't seem to know you. Of course she knows me. Thompson insists, his voice rising. I'm Mr. Thompson. Tell them, Lily. Tell them who I am. He is trying to use her, to make her his witness. It is a mistake. From behind Axe's leg, Lily peeks out. She feels a sliver of safety, a fragile shield she hasn't felt since the car left the main road. The sheer size of the men is no longer terrifying. It is a fortress. He's Mr. Thompson, she whispers, her voice gaining a tiny bit of strength. He's our advisor. From the bank. The word hangs in the air. Advisor. Not uncle. The lie is exposed. Thompson's face pales slightly. She misspoke. She doesn't understand these things. Bear ignores him, his focus entirely on Lily. His voice softens, the low rumble becoming impossibly gentle. What happened, little one? Tell us. He said he was taking us to see the new house. Lily says, her words coming in a rush now, tumbling over each other. The one Grandma was buying. But he drove the wrong way, down a dirt road. Grandma told him to stop. She was yelling. She takes a shuddering breath. He wouldn't stop. He got angry. He said she was ruining everything. Then he hit her. She hit her head on the dashboard. Thompson interrupts, his voice desperate. It was an accident. I swerved to avoid a deer. No, Lily says, her small voice clear and unwavering. He hit her. With his hand. Hard. Silence descends again, thicker this time, colder. Then, Lily continues, her eyes locked on Bear's. He took her phone. And her purse. He put them in the glove box. He said no one could know. She hesitates for a second, a flicker of memory in her eyes. And he has a dragon on his wrist. The red dragon from the storybook Grandma reads me. I saw it when his sleeve rode up. Every eye in the room, including Bear's, Axe's, and Doc's, darts to Thompson's left wrist. Instinctively, reflexively, Thompson jerks his hand back, pulling his starched white cuff down over his wrist. It is a confession. The mask is slipping. Doc, who has been watching everything with quiet intensity, discreetly pulls out his smartphone. The screen's glow illuminates his focused face. He leans toward the girl. What's your grandma's name, sweetheart? He asks, his voice calm and academic. Eleanor Vance, she whispers. Doc's fingers fly across the screen. A few taps, a swipe. He reads for a moment, his expression unreadable. Then he looks up at Brenda, the waitress, who is standing frozen by the counter, a pot of coffee forgotten in her hand. Mang, dog zais politeli. Could I get the number for the local sheriff's department? Not 911. The direct line, if you have it. Brenda nods, her fear of the bikers now completely replaced by a different, more righteous kind of fear. She scribbles a number on a napkin and slides it across the counter. Doc dials. He turns away slightly, shielding the phone with his body. Miller, he says into the phone. It's Document. Yeah, I'm with Bear. We're at a diner, the crossroads on Highway 17. We have a situation. A child, says her grandmother, Eleanor Vance, has been assaulted by a man named Thompson. Yeah, he's here with us. The girl says he drove down a dirt road off the highway. No, she's safe. We're making sure of it. Thompson watches the phone call, his face a mask of disbelief turning to raw panic. The polished veneer cracks and shatters, revealing the ugly, desperate creature beneath. This is insane, he shouts, his voice now high and shrill. This is kidnapping. You are holding me against my will. I am a respected community leader. I will have all of your jobs. I will sue this entire establishment into the ground. He points a trembling finger at Bear. And you filthy ape. You'll be rotting in a cage by tonight. His eyes are wild. The controlled, manipulative man is gone. In his place is a cornered rat, ready to bite. He makes his final, most critical error. He lunges for Lily. It is a desperate, clumsy grab, born of sheer panic. He thinks if he can just get his hands on the girl, he can use her as a shield, a bargaining chip. He never has a chance. The movement is a blur. Axe, who has been a statue of granite, explodes into motion. It is not an act of aggression, but of pure, economic efficiency. He doesn't strike a blow. He doesn't need to. He intercepts Thompson's lunge, his body moving with a speed that belies his size. One of Axe's hands clamps onto Thompson's outstretched arm, the other seizes the back of his suit collar. He uses the man's own momentum against him, spinning him around, away from the girl. In the same fluid motion, Axe forces Thompson's arms behind his back, securing them with one massive hand gripping both wrists. The man is utterly, completely immobilized. A sharp, pained grunt escapes Thompson's lips as his expensive suit jacket rips at the seam. Let me go. Thompson shrieks, his voice cracking. He struggles, but it's like a mouse struggling in the grip of a hawk. It is futile. He is held fast, his face pushed toward the grimy floor. The whole event takes less than 3 seconds. In the distance, a faint sound, a siren. It grows steadily louder, a rising wail that cuts through the drumming of the rain. Red and blue lights flash against the fogged diner windows, painting the room in frantic, strobing colors. 2 patrol cars and a plain, unmarked sedan skid to a halt in the gravel parking lot. Doors slam. A man in a rumpled trench coat gets out of the sedan. He is weary, his shoulders slumped, but his eyes are sharp. Detective Miller. He enters the diner, his gaze taking in the scene in an instant. The terrified but safe child, the subdued, pathetic man on the floor, the 4 bikers standing like sentinels. He looks at Bear and gives a single, tired nod. Got your message, Bear. 2 uniformed officers move in and professionally cuff the sputtering, threatening Mr. Thompson. They haul him to his feet. You'll hear from my lawyer, he screams as they drag him out into the rain. This is a violation of my rights. I am an innocent man. The diner door closes, cutting off his frantic cries. The silence that returns is different. It is a silence of relief, of safety. Detective Miller kneels, his old knees cracking. He gives Lily a small, gentle smile. Hey there, I'm Detective Miller. You're a very brave young lady. But Lily isn't looking at him. Her eyes are on Bear. The big man moves, his heavy boots silent on the floor. He kneels down in front of her, a slow, deliberate movement that puts him at her eye level. The sheer bulk of him should be terrifying, but it is not. It is comforting. He ignores the detective, the waitress, everyone. His world has shrunk to this small, shivering child. You were very brave, he says, his voice the rumble of a distant, friendly thunder. The bravest person in this whole room. You did the right thing. He reaches up and, with surprising gentleness, undoes the clasps on his leather cut. The vest is heavy, smelling of road dust, engine oil, and rain. He shrugs it off his massive shoulders. He wraps the huge vest around Lily's small frame. It engulfs her, a heavy, protective mantle. The coiled serpent emblem rests over her back like a shield. You're with us now, Bear says softly. The serpents of mercy. That means your family. And we protect our family. You're safe. The dam inside Lily finally breaks. The terror, the adrenaline, the desperate courage, it all gives way. Her tears, held back for so long, begin to fall. But these are not tears of fear. They are tears of relief, of rescue. A sob escapes her, and she lunges forward, wrapping her skinny arms around Bear's thick neck. She buries her face in the rough material of his t-shirt and cries. Bear's arms, accustomed to holding handlebars and engine parts, come up and hesitantly, then firmly, encircle her small, trembling body. He holds her, patting her back with a hand big enough to palm her entire head. He just holds her, a silent, unshakable promise of safety. At the county hospital, the full, sickening story is pieced together. Mr. Thompson, the respected financial advisor, was a predator of a different kind. He had been systematically defrauding his elderly clients for years, draining their life savings into offshore accounts. Lily's grandmother, Eleanor Vance, a sharp and astute retired accountant, had found inconsistencies. She had scheduled a meeting with her lawyer. Thompson, realizing he was about to be exposed, had panicked. The trip to see the new house was a ruse. The accident was a clumsy, brutal attempt to silence her permanently. He had left her for dead on a remote, muddy service road. Thanks to Lily's courage and the bikers' quick action, a search party found her. She was alive. A concussion, a broken arm, and severe bruising, but alive. She would recover. Lily's parents arrived at the sheriff's station a few hours later, their faces etched with a frantic terror that melted into overwhelming, tearful relief when they saw their daughter, safe and sound, asleep on a cot in an office, still wrapped in a giant leather vest. Her father, a man in a crisp dress shirt and slacks, found Bear and the others outside, standing in the misty rain under the station's buzzing fluorescent light. He pulled out his wallet, his hands shaking. I don't know what to say, he stammered, fumbling with a wad of cash. Thank you. Please let me. I want to pay you for your help. For everything. Bear looked at the money, then at the man's desperate, grateful face. He slowly shook his head. "Put that away," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "We don't take money for doing what's right." He gestured with his chin toward the station. "Your daughter's courage was the only payment needed. You should be very proud of her." The father could only nod, his eyes filling with tears. He put his wallet away and simply offered his hand. Bear took it, his grip firm and steady. A bond of silent, profound understanding passed between the two fathers from vastly different worlds. 1 year later, the sun is a hot, white disk in a vast blue Wyoming sky. The Serpents of Mercy are parked at a scenic overlook, their chrome glittering. The air is thin and clean, smelling of pine and hot dust. Below them, a canyon cuts a jagged scar through the earth. They're on the road again, between worlds, between obligations. This is their church, their home. Rook, no longer a prospect, but a fully patched member, walks over from his bike, sorting through a small bundle of mail he picked up at their last stop. He hands a single, crisp envelope to Bear. "This one's for you, Prez," he says. The return address is from a town they left behind a year ago. Bear tears it open with his thumb. Inside, there is no letter, just a photograph. It is a school picture, a smiling, bright-eyed girl with dark hair, a missing front tooth, and a look of pure, uncomplicated happiness. It is Lily. Bear turns the photo over. Written on the back in the careful, slightly clumsy script of a child are a few simple words. "To my guardian angels, thank you for saving me and Grandma. She is all better now. Love, Lily." Tucked behind the photo is another piece of paper, folded into a small square. Bear unfolds it. It is a drawing made with crayons. It depicts 4 enormous, smiling figures with beards and black vests, standing beside one very small girl. Above them all, a huge, friendly-looking serpent is coiled, watching over them. In the corner, a bright yellow sun shines down. Axe looks over Bear's shoulder at the drawing. A rare, soft grunt escapes him, something that might almost be a laugh. Doc adjusts his glasses and a small, genuine smile touches his lips. Bear looks at the photo of the smiling girl, then at the crayon drawing. He looks out at the vast, endless horizon. His code, the Serpent's Code, was not an abstract idea. It was this. It was the smile on this child's face. It was the knowledge that a grandmother was safe, that a predator was caged, that a small corner of the world was set right again. He carefully, almost reverently, tucks the photo and the drawing into the inner pocket of his leather cut, the one that now rests over his heart. He pulls on his sunglasses and straddles his iron horse. "Let's ride," he rumbles. The engines roar to life in unison, a thunderous chorus that echoes through the canyon. One by one, the Serpents of Mercy pull back onto the hot asphalt, leaving a trail of dust and quiet honor on the wind. They ride on, toward the horizon, forever watching, forever waiting for the next cry for help on a lonely road.